Hi again, and welcome back to the ADHD-Friendly Podcast. I'm Patty Blenderman. I'm an ADHD coach and host of all things ADHD-Friendly. In this episode, which is episode 16, it's the one where I'm going to be talking about a planning habit, how to create a planning habit. This is the second in my series of 3 podcasts on planning. In my last episode, I shared some strategies to pick a physical planner that's more likely to work for you. Today, I'm going to be sharing some tips on starting a planning habit. And in my last episode of the 3, I'm going to be going into my weekly planning routine. For today, let's get into how to start a planning habit. I always start with, if it's not something you're currently doing, we have to connect to what's in it for me to do it. So I started my planning routine after taking a training course to teach a program called Seeing My Time. And it was led by Mary D. Sklar, who I can't recommend enough, just changed my life in terms of how I perceive time and how I use external concrete tools to support it. I took this course initially to support my clients. I felt like I had a good handle on time. I arrived places on time. I felt like I had a good sense of time, and I was really just taking it to support my clients with some tools to add to their toolboxes. And I remember when Mary D was sharing her process for weekly planning and monthly planning and daily planning, I had such resistance to the way it was laid out. I just felt like there was way too big of an ask, too many steps, too much time. I just felt like it would take forever. And I didn't have a sense of why would I even do that? My planning was fine. My handle on time felt like it was absolutely where it needed to be. So I didn't see the need to build any more structure around my plan. But Mary D highlighted one thing that was very sparkly to me. She said that the weekly planning process was where the magic happened. She said the magic is in weekly planning. That language that created enough interest, and it really resonated with me because I had a monthly calendar that I would write down, big appointments and things I could see, and I looked at my schedule for the day. I wasn't putting any structure around a weekly plan, a way to see the week coming up. So that did have a little bit of interest. And I thought, yeah, you know what, I could do this and see what I learned so I can share it with clients. Again, I really wasn't expecting to transform the way I looked at my time and my planning process, but it did create enough interest for me to start, enough interest for me to begin putting structure around a habit of my own. So I decided to block time to look at my week. And this is where I'm going to really encourage you as I go through just some tips to starting a planning habit, to keep in mind something is more than nothing. If I expected myself to do this long process that was outlined in the course that I was taking, I wouldn't have done anything. But I found a place that sparked my interest, and I decided just to devote 5 minutes to it on a Sunday morning. That was the time that Mary D said was the best time to plan, that people had the most success if they looked at it at the same time each week. Typically, Sunday was a great day, or Monday morning. Sunday morning worked for me. So that's where I started. I just took 5 minutes. My habit today, this has been many years, it's been over 5 years since I took the training. It looks very different. I'm going to go into that in the next episode. My routine looks so different that I actually spend on average an hour every Sunday morning looking at my weekly plan and doing my weekly planning. I love my process of weekly planning, but what keeps pulling me into it, what created the love for it, is me noticing what it gave me to do it. If I didn't allow myself to start with that 5 minutes, I would have never done anything. So I just want to plant the seed that something is more than nothing as you're exploring whether or not putting some structure around a planning routine would support you to pin down your time in a more ADHD-friendly way. So if you are interested, I'm going to share 3 tips to starting a planning habit. There's lots of strategies, lots of tools, lots of things out there. I'm just going to highlight 3 things that helped me to build mine in case they might help you to build yours. The first, because remember last week we talked about the physical planners. So once you have something that's sparkly that you're interested in, what's the best time to look at your week? Like I said, research shows Sundays are really successful in terms of people establishing a consistent habit around looking at their weeks. Could be Sunday morning, could be Sunday afternoon, in the evening before you go to bed. I do have clients that do it Monday and have had good success with that, as well as other days of the week. But I have also noticed what the research has shown, and that's that Sundays do seem to have the most positive results. But pick a time that's best for you. And then what prompt will you need to remember that that's what you intend to do? This is not part of your routine yet. So I know our brains tend to, in the moment, push back and resist putting structure in place to remember because we're not going to forget. But I encourage you to go ahead and make a prompt just in case your brain doesn't follow up and remember at the time that you decided you wanted to do it. I set a reminder in my calendar. That's how I remembered as I was building my habit. I encourage you to notice what will work for you to remember your intention to do the planning at the time you decide. So tip 1, pick a time that's best for you to do it. And tip 2, create a prompt that's going to remind you that you intended to do it. And then tip 3, keep it in sight. I talked about this last week. I'm going to talk about it today, and I'm going to talk about it next time. If you do your planning, let's say it's a physical planner, and you close it, or you put it down and something covers it, out of sight, out of mind, it's gone. We have to keep it in sight. So decide where it's going to go so you'll always be able to easily see it. If you can't see it, it's like it doesn't exist. So if you would like to run an ADHD-friendly experiment on planning and developing a routine around it, just decide to start where you have the least resistance. Notice if 5 minutes feels like it's too long, maybe it's just, I'm just going to look at my calendar for 2 minutes. Notice what it gives you. It's what you get from doing it that's going to create the motivation to come back and continue doing it. It's how I went from 5 minutes to an hour to looking forward to it because it just pins down my week and it creates so much calm and ease for the rest of the week that I won't even consider not doing it. I bring my planner on vacation. I do it on holiday breaks. I am so connected to what it gives me that I actually am more uncomfortable when I don't do it. It pulls me in because I'm aware of how much it pins down my time and makes it concrete for me to manage it with more ease. So just notice what's the easiest way to begin, create a prompt to remember, and then keep it in sight. And just notice what works or doesn't work, because that's what's going to allow you to tweak it and create a habit that pulls you into using it without any effort to get started. That's all I wanted to share as you begin experimenting with the idea of creating a plan around your planning routine. I sincerely appreciate your time, focus, and attention as always. As this week, I shared how creating a planning habit can support you to manage your time with more ease and less stress. Pick a time to try your planner so you can use it to make your life just a little bit more ADHD friendly. And if you'd be willing, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to my podcast and recommend it to a friend if you enjoy it. Until next time, tally ho.